can tell you people they were the devil's children.
Greetings from Castlegory, from Mickey, Aurora, and from me. Well, before I plunge in, I'm going to do two things which are personal. Laura Calder sent me her Kitchen Bites, which is a very entertaining book about food, and yours truly is mentioned in it, as indeed is my predecessor, the previous Lady Colin Campbell. So I just thought I'd work that in, and then I'd say, yesterday I was very sad to hear that my long-standing for over 40 years GP, who very wickedly retired 10 years ago, died at the age of 91. He had an accident in Thailand, and Prince Ernst August of Hanover, who was a friend of his, actually even flew out to Thailand. To help him, and they got him back, and he was doing pretty well at the Chelsea at Westminster Hospital. He'd broken I think it was his hip. And anyway, he passed away yesterday, which was very sad. But he was a wonderful man. He was the finest GP I have ever known of. Tony Greenburgh was his name, spelt Greenberg. He was such a good doctor, it is beyond belief. He was renowned as being the aristocracy's doctor. He had the best connections of anyone I have ever known. He knew absolutely everybody, not only socially, but medically. And I'll tell you, he was such a decent man that if you went to him for a prescription that was a repeat, his nurse, who was the most divine woman on earth, would give it to you without ever charging you. Unheard of in most circles. Also, because he approved of my children, he always charged me practically nothing to see them. Now, I mean, isn't that a really great guy? He smoked like a chimney. I mean, you'd go into his waiting room and there'd be no smoke because he had a place on Eaton Place. So the drawing room was the conventional big drawing room. Then you'd go into his, I suppose, what surgery you'd call it, which was pretty much the same length, with maybe about 4 feet smaller than the drawing room, but not quite as wide. And the whole room would be covered in smoke, and there would be Tony doing whatever, puffing on a cigarette. Oh, it was so divinely politically incorrect, I cannot tell you. And everybody absolutely loved him. He had been the doctor to the stars. He was the doctor to Mama Cass, was one of his famous patients. So he didn't only have the aristocracy, he had rock royalty as well, I suppose you'd call it. And I mean, he was just great. So to those of you who knew Tony, sadly the world has now had to do permanently with one of the best GPs of all time. And to those of you who didn't know him, celebrate his life. He was a wonderful man. So, having said that, I will now plunge in. Bell says, please, Lady C, explain how it is legal for Prince Harry and his lawyers to bring Prince William's private court case and settlement up in his case. Harry is very busy talking about his family's private matters, and it just seems illegal to me. What is your opinion? Well, I certainly think it's undesirable, and one would say very poor form. Some people might even say it's almost immoral. So I hesitate to use that word, but it's a word that's being bandied around, and it certainly is hypocritical, because Harry and Meghan insist on their privacy and then proceed to violate everybody else's, including their own, incidentally, and certainly their families. I mean, the violations to which poor William's privacy has been subjected are just beyond belief. Well, of course, Meghan takes the view that I'm Rachel Zane, I'm a toughie, and I know the law. Slap him once, slap him twice, slap him again. Because I'm a dominatrix, and I like to have my heel on a submissive's head. And nothing thrills me more than when I have my heel on somebody's head and I just grind that stiletto into his scalp, especially legally, because I'm Rachel Zane, toughie. Anything goes, clearly, with those two. And, you know, this made the BBC headlines with a secret settlement revealed in Harry's court case against news group newspapers, which is the Murdoch organisation. The assertion that Harry has put forth, yes, Aurora, yes. You don't approve of it either? No, you don't. Okay. But I tell you what, let's have you sit down here and you and Matty can talk to everybody, okay? Instead of you giving me kisses. Sorry about that. She is still a baby. She just loves love. One kiss and no more. Oh, she's so sweet. Yes, where was I? Yes, Harry's lawyers have claimed that there was a secret arrangement between the royal family and news group that they wouldn't sue or look at suing until the end of the inquiry. And after the inquiry ended, William sued and there was a settlement. Well, Harry has used this to justify the fact that he did not issue proceedings within time. So he's, Rachel Zane has taught him there's no such thing as right or wrong. The only thing that matters is that we prevail. And if we use whatever's there, we can say black's white. I've often said it. It's even been on my driver's license. And we can just say whatever we want, and we might get away with it. And well, if we don't, we don't. But I mean, it's worth a try, because after all, we're operators, we're players. We know how to play the system, because I'm Rachel Zane, And Rachel Zane's very clever. And so, with no thought to the rights or wrongs of the matter, and no thought to the fact that if you have an agreement, you're honor bound to stick to it. According to news group, what has happened is that Harry has issued proceedings out of time, and they're trying to get it struck out on that basis, as well as on the fact that he has accused the Sun newspaper, which is a part of the Murdoch Group. It's actually the most popular tabloid in this country, with crimes that were committed by the News of the World, and which was shut down many years ago by Rupert Murdoch. He also says that not only should the fact that this has happened allow him to issue proceedings out of time, but that the Queen agreed that he could proceed. The Queen's agreed to an awful lot of things now that she's dead. Oh, I tell you, that poor Queen. I wonder if Harry has it in writing, or if it's something he remembered when he was doing, Ayawushka, 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 bongo, bongo drums. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. Look. That stove's talking to me. Oh, it's got a tail. It's got a tail. Oh, I've got a tail too. In fact, I am a tail. I am a tail. I wish I was a todger. A whole todger. But I'm only a part of a todger. The whole thing is a punt, and let us see what happens. Teresa Faria says, "Hi, Lady C. I'm writing to you for the first time. It occurs to me that Meghan is trying to look like Victoria Beckham. Anyway, she lightened her eyes, her hair, she narrowed her nose even more. It might cut Harry if he's not careful. And her hair is straighter than a board. So could we consider this unconscious bias? I mean, isn't she trying to have very white features? So does that make her racist? It kind of reminds me of Michael Jackson, getting lighter skinned and nose operations constantly. It is a form of self-hatred. It is a form of racism to try to eradicate that part of your identity that you plainly regard as undesirable. I mean, if she had been white and decided she was going to broaden her nose and big up her lips and change the shape of her face and Africanize her hair the way that woman who pretended to be black for years and was white did, that would be a form of racism, wouldn't it? And what she's doing is also a form of racism. Yes, I couldn't agree more. But I have maintained all along that one of Meghan's basic problems is in-depth self-hatred. She, by her own account, has struggled to incorporate the duality of her heritage. You could say that's deserving of sympathy, except for the malignant way in which she goes about things. And you then think, no, it's actually deserving of condemnation. But at least in her latest photographs, she's not bronzing up to the extent that she has been doing before. But that could be if she's had surgery and if she's had interventions. She can't pull the skin. So she has to be really careful what she does, because she can't remove the plethora of makeup that she has to wear when her vaguely cafe au lait skin is bronzed up to brown. But you know, Phyllis Diller actually summarized it very well in terms of Michael Jackson. She was asked many years ago, who did she regard as the most desirable plastic surgeon on earth? And she said, Michael Jackson's. And they said, why? And Phyllis Diller loved plastic surgery. And to those of you who don't know, she was a very raucous, famous American comedian. And she said, well, anybody who can turn a black boy into a white girl is the man for me. Well, Meghan's plastic surgery seems to have been very successful, because as she gets older, she becomes more like Doria. As you get older, your looks coarsen. I remember a plastic surgeon once saying to us, because a friend of mine had a group of us of a certain age around to meet an American plastic surgeon who was interested in doing work in Britain. And I went, I thought it was fun. Didn't use him, I have to say, but friends of mine have used him. And he said, as women get older, their faces get more masculine, which is another way of saying your looks coarsen. And if you say, look at Jenny Churchill, who was Lady Randolph Churchill, Winston Churchill's mother, gloriously beautiful when she was young. And she was supposed to either have Native American blood or Jewish blood or possibly a bit of black blood. But that's only been mooted. I don't think it's very likely. But the fact that it could be Jewish is a possibility, because her name was originally Jenny Jerome. But anyway, whatever, she had a bit of very, shall we say, exotic blood somewhere along the line. And it made, when she was young, she was gloriously beautiful. But as she got older, according to her sister, she looked more and more like a Red Indian. Well, Meghan looks, without interventions, more and more like Doria. And she clearly doesn't like it. So I think, she's not only forcibly pressing back the hands of time, but she's also making sure that the door to Africa is kept tightly shut. Oh, no. Do you remember her comments when she was on Netflix about, I don't remember the exact wording, but the paraphrase is, those dreadful English papers accused me of being black, and I've never been accused of being black until they did. I'm black. Look at me, I'm almost white. I'm lily white. Oh, black. Oh. That was a dead giveaway, if ever there was one, as to her true sentiments on the subject. So, enough said, I think. Richard Catherall says, "Hi, Lady C. Is Meghan and Harry's appearance at the basketball to stave off rumours of a split? She seems to have been out to be seen the last couple of days." Very interesting question, very interesting interpretation. And I have to tell you, it did occur to me that the timing of this is not only coincidental in terms of the coronation and keeping them in the narrative and in the media, but also the refutation of the separation rumours, which, as I have said before, neither I nor anybody to whom they were told actually trusted that this was true. However, their behaviour at the Lakers game is a very interesting, it shows an interesting dynamic that I will get to in a little while. That shows, but Meghan is very adept at keeping the story going, keeping the speculation going, keeping herself as a subject of interest going. Always new things, always contradictory things, so that it's like a treasure hunt, except you're hunting for feces, not jewels. But sometimes your garden needs manure. So let's put it that way. It certainly kiboshes the rumours of them being effectively separated. They hope, or that's the message we are meant to believe. But does it really? I wouldn't believe a thing that came out of either of their mouths. Not a thing. And any situation that they orchestrate and set up, I don't believe it either. I have to have independent verification from reliable sources. You can't rely upon unreliable sources. FIT Chic says, "Lady C, 2 questions from a fellow alumna of FIT. I'm an avid reader of the Mail Online in the US. I'd be curious to have your opinion of Meghan's look at the Lakers game. If you've seen the photographs, I certainly have. She's in pink linen, belted shorts, jacket, white tank top and nude heels. I know what I think and would be very surprised if you disagree. Also, what's your take on Sarah Vine's piece about Meghan? I found it very interesting and would love your opinion." For those of you who don't know, you can go onto the Mail Online in the United States as well as in Britain. I don't know about elsewhere. And you can read the Sarah Vine piece, which is really rather amusing. Let me take the first part of the question first. But in case I forget, I'm going to leap back to the previous question and just say, No, I'm not. It's not. It's fine. I'm going to stick to this. I'm confusing the issue. Oh, well, those of us who've been taught anything about fashion know it's. I mean, you talk about a study in dreadfulness. I mean, the woman is just so beyond anything regarded as tasteful. First of all, there's a good reason why you usually do not wear a full linen suit. You might wear a linen jacket or linen trousers, but linen crumples. But then she likes the messy look, you know. She spent 2 hours in front of the mirror, and mirror, mirror on the wall. Am I truly the fairest of us all? I notice I've not browned up today, so you've got to say fairest in all the meanings of the word. And the mirror says, yes, yes, Meghan, you're asking yourself, and yourself is telling yourself the answer. Well, she could have just about got away with the linen suit if she'd had on adequate shoes. But I'm sorry, you do not wear court pumps. Sorry, court heels, stiletto heels with shorts. It's so tacky, it's so tasteless, it is so vulgar, it is so déclassé, it is so inelegant. And she often does things like this. You know, the woman had the advantage of a very good education. Taste, she lacks. She's been exposed to good taste all her life. But character is destiny, and tastelessness is often an indication of a lack within your character. And that is so obvious with her. I mean, she spent $1,400 on a linen suit that looks like something the cat dragged in. And of course, she does all the tacky things, you know, that pushing up the sleeves and so crumpling it even further, having the hair of all those Turkish virgins, which she's obviously spent several hours having the maid iron on the ironing board, all over her face and her body like Medusa with 1,000 heads. And the shoes, I mean, so dreadful, such déclassé, such a déclassé look, dreadful. Now, she also wore an 1800 Prada clutch bag. And she spends, if they were not given freebies, they spend about $20,000 of their organization's money, taking their staff and their associates out to the game. And of course, they had to have their own special suite so that, well, I am Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex. I'm a princess, and you've got to believe it, and you better not forget it. And let me tell you something. I'm going to make sure that you will never forget it. No, never. But we'll get to that in a moment. Because Sarah Vine is right. I have said it all along. Meghan is essentially a businesswoman. I got this from several different sources, and I quoted in my book Gina Nelthorpe Cowan, who was her business manager, whom she used, consumed, and spat out when she was no longer of detectable further use. Meghan is basically interested in the money and the attention. She is all about herself. Sarah Vine makes the point she knows what she wants and she's determined to get it. That echoes what I said in my book. And I said it having spoken to people who know Meghan very well. Well, she has miscalculated because Meghan is a player. Meghan is a gamesmanship player. She is a games player. She is a player in every meaning of the word. She is an operator. She is somebody that I wouldn't trust as far as I see her. I wouldn't trust while I'm seeing her to get the truth or to get anything desirable or anything factual. So how anybody could look at that and trust it is beyond me, because everything about her screeches, I'm a player, I'm an operator, and I'm using the words in all of their meanings, including the pejorative ones. Because she has tried other games to further her ambitions and feather her nest. And as I said, it's all about money and attention. And it's in my book, she wanted to be the most popular woman on earth. Well, she's certainly failed there, but she's ended up getting half of that, which is she might be heading towards being one of the most unpopular women on earth. And also, that makes her one of the most talked about women on earth. So there's the attention. Maybe not the type she, in an ideal world, would like, but it's the second best thing. She is very good at seeing an opportunity that exists and milking it, or seeing the possibility of an opportunity that doesn't exist and creating it to milk it. She did this with being royal. She saw that she couldn't monetize and milk the attention to the extent that she wanted to while she was within the royal fold. So she managed to lay the ground and get Harry and herself out of the royal fold. So that was the first radical reinvention. She thought, because she's not very sophisticated and she may be very wily, but she's not as bright as she thinks she is. She's bright, but she has the brightness of a small-time hustler. She doesn't have the brightness or the sophistication of a big-time operator. So right there, that means the scenarios she will be setting up are doomed to fail, because she wants 22-carat gold rewards for 9-carat gold plate operations. That's not how life works. But she has reinvented herself repeatedly over the years. When she was the working girl and doing the blog, The Working Girl, or The Working Actress, I think it might have been called anyway. It was a working something. So when she was hustling those buns to become the very limited success that she became in terms of her career, that was one invention. And so she really went from being a very mixed race looking Africanized girl of colour to a young woman who, unless you knew, you would pass for white, and did. So that's a reinvention right there. Then she uses that in the hope of becoming a famous actress. It doesn't work, but she becomes a jobbing actress. So it works to an extent. Then she realizes she's reaching the end of that road as she's batting 40, and Suits is going to come to an end sooner or later. So she needs to come up with a new act, and she creates a new act. She's a humanitarian. Then she's hustling those buns to become a humanitarian wife of a rich man. Shades of asking Lizzie Cundy to introduce her to rich Englishmen, because she thought she'd be able to come over here and it would be easy for her to become classy in Britain, because she knew she could never become classy in America, because it's possible in Canada. It's not possible in America for somebody like her. In America, you either make it, and I know this because I was educated in America. My sisters are American citizens. My nieces and nephew are American. Many of my closest friends are American. In America, if you're not top drawer or very rich, you're never gonna cut the mustard. They're just not interested in having second-rate people passing themselves off as first-raters. They're not. So that's why Meghan was never, ever going to be able to make it in America, and didn't. So she comes to Britain, she tries, and she succeeds. She strikes it big time lucky, but it's not enough to be number 5 in the royal family. She wants, because she wants to be number 1, which is insanity. But you're dealing with somebody who does display signs of actual insanity, certainly disconnection from reality, as even American journalists have started to observe. And so she reinvents herself. It's not enough to be a member of the grandest family on earth, because she's not going to be number 1 in that. And her ego is so monumental that, and by now, all the brakes are off on any self-restraint she possessed, because being abed with Harry has actually, he's injected so much unreality into her that she and he both think that they are going to be able to trip off and become the most popular royals on earth, number 1s. And when they realize they can't do it within the royal family, they're out of it. And what does she do? She uses the cards she used to get into the royal family. Lying about race and racism was the main one. And then just lying, full stop, was the second card. Oh, I'm such a victim. I'm such a victim. Just such a victim. And everybody's taking advantage of me. The woman is a predator posing as a victim, in my not so humble view. She's also a lone wolf. I said it in my book. I was told it by people who know her very well. She is very good at creating what she thinks is going to be the facade and the script that will work for her. Well, it worked. It convinced Harry that she was wonderful. She certainly convinced Harry that she's Diana Mac too. I mean, he clearly can't remember his mother. For him to even think that there is the vaguest similarity, except in some of their grosser failings, but certainly not in terms of any of Diana's virtues. So what does she do now? They go to America. They've cocked it up royally. They really have. They turned everybody off with their bleating, their ploys for sympathy, at the very moment that they've had their hands in everybody's pocket and flaunting in the most vulgar and disgusting way their elitism and their desire to be bowed down and scraped upon. Unbelievable the way they have gone from the success that they enjoyed at the beginning of their marriage to the failure that they have created for themselves. So now she's come up with another mask. Oh, that one didn't work. Just throw it away. Let's come up with a new mask. This I think will do. This will do. Yeah. So now and this I think Sarah Van is right, is closer to the reality of Meghan. The message she's giving is she's determined, she'll get what she wants, she's capable of doing anything to get what she wants, and she is exultant at any success she has, and she's just gonna play the role of, am I not wonderful? Am I not marvelous? And just fabulous. And so the pretense for the moment, I mean, it's not going to last, because she needs to shore up the am I not wonderful with all sorts of pretenses about how she's wonderful. But at the moment, it's just a flagrant display of self-love. And Meghan, if you have listened to her, is one of the biggest proponents of self-love. There are other ways of describing it. Unavowed narcissism, flagrant egotism, but I'm going to take you to what Angel D says. Did you see the Duke and Duchess were at the LA Lakers basketball games? Interesting show on public displays of affection or lack thereof. And here we come to it. Meghan is clever. She's as wily as a fox. Will a fox pass the exams to be a rocket scientist? I don't think so. But the fox is foxy. Harry leans in, doubtless because he and Meghan have decided beforehand what their script requires and their narrative will be. And, oh, we're so happily married. And, yeah. And he leans in to give her a public display of affection, and she repulses it. But she does it in such a way that it can be interpreted as affectionate. But she does it in any event, and in the process, she humiliates him. Did you see his expression, did you think grinding his teeth and moving his mouth like he had a dead rat running in inside of it? Sorry, dead rats don't run. So it has to be a live mouse inside of it. Sorry about that. Unless it was a dead rat that he was bouncing from side to side of his mouth to avoid swallowing. That's a disgusting, repellent analogy, but I think it's so appropriate in the circumstances. She's covering all the bases. She's covering the bases of Romeo and Juliet, Abelard and Eloise, Meghan and Harry, and notice who comes first. Romeo and Juliet, Meghan and Harry. Then she's also covering the bases of, well, are they separated or aren't they? I mean, she's always been, previous to this, desperate to have public displays of affection interchanged between them. This time, no. Subtle, clever, or maybe she's decided she's going to be classy. So no more public displays of affection until their next passing a coffin, in which case she's going to have to grab his hand as if it's a walking stick. Constance Archer says, did you see the Megsy baby photo up at the Lakers game last night? What do you make of Harry and Meghan spending maybe $20,000 to entertain their Archewell staff in a special suite at the Lakers game? Well, now we come to it. My dear, charity starts at home. And as Meghan and Harry's charity accounts have revealed, not only does charity start at home, charity stays at home. They are rewarding themselves, and by extension of themselves, their staff. They're also grabbing attention. So, because you see, well, we're American, we're not English. We're not going to have a British way of life. I mean, you're going to call my son His Royal Highness Prince Archie of Sussex, and you're going to call my daughter Princess Lilibet of Sussex, and don't you dare forget it. And I'm the Duchess of Sussex, Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex. We're royal. However, we're also roots down to earth Americans, and we just love apple pie and baseball and football and all sorts of balls, including the balls that Harry juggles. Well, it was a display. It was a display to not only knock the coronation out of the way, but Prince Louis's birthday. All of this is happening, you know, there's no such thing as a royal occasion that Meghan and Harry don't somehow manage to trample on, so that the old protocol of each event is given its due attention. They overturn that at every stage. Oh, there's an event coming up. We're gonna get in there and we're gonna knock it out of the way, because that's what we're here to do. How dare they think that we should ever play second fiddle to anyone? There's also how wonderful they are. They're marvellous employers. Well, we know that. I mean, I don't know why James Holt wasn't there, because He's batting 3 million per annum in terms of hourly rate on just one charity alone, and whatever else he's doing as well. Then we have her seating between Harry. Oh, no, I don't want to kiss you. And there he's going with his mouth going, I don't want to kiss you. Why would I want to kiss you? And then she grabs his hand, his arm, and doubtless shows him who's boss. Oh, how much I love you, H. On the other side was her lawyer, Rick Gino, or however he pronounces his name. He's mentioned in my book. Then she also had her business manager, Andrew Mayer. These are very second-rate people, I have to tell you. They, as I pointed out in my book, they have never been of the first rank. Meghan has used them and their abilities, and they doubtless have abilities, to maximize her monetary possibilities, and she's been doing it from long before she met Harry. They are hopefully, according to people who know what's going on in their eyes and in her eyes, on an upward trajectory to greatness. Well, in Hollywood, as in life, second rate doesn't qualify as first rate. However, they have perfectly respectable records. But are they the Wunderkind that they are being presented as being? No, they are not. She also had in the suite Barack Obama's PR woman, who's now working for them, as well as, if I'm not mistaken, people from other political leavings. And I am not going to end with the rather unfortunate comments that some people made about the calibre of employee, because they were not referring to their professional aptitude. They were referring to their personal presentation. And yes, I see what you mean, but I'm not going to repeat it. Sorry. And on that note, I'm going to say thank you very much for listening. I hope this has been of some interest to you. If it has, please keep the questions and comments coming in. As I keep on saying, I hope I'm not being tiresome when I repeat it. Your input is vital to these conversations. Okay? Thank you so much. And if you have enjoyed it, please like, share, subscribe, press the notification bell, and Godspeed.